Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 470 of the MTGGoldfish podcast. I'm Seth, probably better known as Saffron Olive, and we have the full crew here this week, kicking things off with the owner of MTGGoldfish, Richard. How are you this fine Monday, Richard?
Good morning, Seth. I'm slowly withering away here. I went to a pre-release and got into a bar fight. Like, check this. if you're checking the camera, no, okay. I have pink eye.
Did you really?
No, I have.
Oh,
Like my face is all messed up. I have literally never have a
Stuck
kid,
with
guys.
the first version.
Yo, I got COVID. I got hand, foot, mouth. I got RSV. I got pink eye. You got every serious disease.
that's like every disease I've seen on the news in the past 2 years. Richard has
That's
them
right.
all.
And your little kids bring them home every day. And you're just like, I'm just trying to play some Magic the Gathering. And today my eye is pink and I feel terrible. But here we are. Seth. Here
I
we
thought
are.
that came from like people farting on your pillows. What?
It kind of is because the toddlers like basically do that all day.
Okay, word.
Oh, well, we also have another co-host in Krim. Krim, how are your eyes? Pink at all? Or are you good?
Yeah, no, they're just completely fine for now. Knock on wood.
Good.
I went out to a concert over the weekend, and I went to a punk, like kind of like hardcore concert, and I got slightly kicked out. I got like essentially booted out for stage diving off a bunch of stuff. I led this whole stampede essentially of people that jumped over some rails.
But are you not allowed to stage dives? Because every weekend you tell us stories of your stage diving.
Well, I guess it's like what I stage dove from, which was a tiered venue. I dove off the thing, and then this way a ton of people could get into the pit because the pit was oddly sectioned off in one of these events. So that then led to me being the only one that got kicked out from the security because I'm the only one that they caught because I was noticeable. I had my Kings jersey on in LA, and then it's funny because like my roommate tells me, "Oh yeah, thanks to you, I was able to make it in." So I'm like, he's like, "Thanks for getting detained for me." So
Krim
yeah,
took
fun
one for the
concert.
team.
Yeah, the people's champ, if you would.
Anyway, today we're going to be bouncing around. We have a bunch of like weird little topics that we're going to be getting to. The new set doesn't drop until tomorrow, so we don't really have that to talk about yet. So we're going to be talking about some new Secret Lairs, some issues there. There was a pretty interesting video by CGB talking about how he's retiring, quote unquote, is the title of it that we want to talk about a bit. There's some MKM news, Murders of Karlov Manor. How is the set selling? Some standard news. So we're going to be bouncing all over the place today and then answering some Fishmail questions. Before we get to all that, though, a reminder that today's show is brought to you by Card Conduit, and Card Conduit's the easiest way to sell your Magic cards. If you ever get tired of the hassles of buy listing, you should use Card Conduit, which lets you skip them. You can use their curated service and send in as many cards as you want with a buy list value of $1 or more and pay just a 5% service fee. And if you want to do a bit of work, you can use this sorted service where you list and sort your cards in advance and pay just a 2% fee. And either way, you're going to get a detailed report with the results and a fast payment once your order is processed. And you can even get another 10% off by heading over to cardconduit.com/MTGGoldfish. Card Conduit, they're the easiest way to sell your Magic cards. So thanks to Card Conduit for supporting the show. And let's talk some Magic. And let's start with, I don't know, I gotta talk about the Secret Lair drop. So they're spoiling the winter Secret Lair super drop. So they do these every season, the big amount of Secret Lairs. So they've been spoiling them over the weekend. One in specific though caught my eye. Richard, what is this controversial Secret Lair drop that's about to release?
All right. I don't know how to describe it. They look like old school like tarot cards or playing cards, but it's basically black and white. So all the cards are black and white, but the cards in the set are from all colors. So the cards are Price of Progress, Eternal Witness, Wall of Omens, Circular Logic, Screaming Symmetry. The problem is Circular Logic declares it's a sorcery. It's actually a counterspell. It's a counter target spell unless it's a controller pays 1 for each card in your graveyard. Madness Blue. So there's just a straight up typo here, and people just taking this opportunity to meme all over lots. Like you can't read the card. So like Circular Logic is like especially egregious here because it's actually circular ? Logic ? And then the type is actually 2 generic mana sorcery blue, right? So like it's all over the place, but we don't know if this is a real error, if this is just a digital error that they can fix before it's gone to print, or it'll actually go to print as a sorcery.
Stop. Before you do that, before this gets out there, I need you all to stop complaining about it, stop pointing it out, because I want this before. I want this. I want it to say sorcery. Complain about it after I've acquired
wants the
it.
misprint.
Yeah,
there's a
How
card
funny is
from
that?
Portal that's a counterspell.
Yeah,
that has sorcery.
it
on
is.
You got that? Do you play it?
Yeah. Of course. I mean, I don't play it, but I own it. Right?
That's
and I remember Wild Mongrel. I remember like all of that when that was in standard. This was played with it. And will I ever play this? No, but can I just want to own more sorcery speed counterspells so that eventually someday, hey, maybe I'll dust them off to play with.
I mean,
Yeah,
okay, let's pretend it's at instant.
Ugh.
Are you digging this?
No,
Are you digging this Secret Lair?
I actually didn't care about this drop. First off, when I first saw it, I thought it was a Rorschach test, and I was like, "Oh, that's kind of cool, like ink blots." Then I realized, nope, that's not it. It's not, but it's not that. So then I was like, "Oh, okay, this one isn't for me." And then I heard Circular Logic was sorcery, and I was like, "Wait, now it is for me, but only Circular Logic. I don't care about anything else."
What?
But if they undo it, I don't want this drop. Why would I want this?
I have so many questions about this drop. So obviously the Circular Logic thing, someone messed something up there, whether it's the actual printed cards or the advertisement for it on the website. Something got messed up there. I guess we'll see once they release it. They're doing the pre-printing Secret Lair drops now. So I think that increases the odds that it could be a real mistake, but we'll have to wait and see. What do you think about just the look of these cards? That's the other thing. I don't know if this is a real issue or not, because how many people play Secret Lairs, but they don't really I don't know. Don't colors mean a little something? Isn't that a way that you can tell what your opponent's doing? At a glance, the color and the art of a card. And these are just so different. They're so black and white. You would never know Price of Progress is a red card or Eternal Witness is a green card. Has it gone too far? Is there a line with these Secret Lairs where we cross it and it's okay, we gotta chill with this, or doesn't it matter in 2024?
I mean, I don't think that there's anything egregious or anything that's ridiculous or kind of absurd compared to any of the other Secret Lair drops, right? This is just one of many, and we had what is it?
Trim is
weird
a double feature
boner man?
enjoyer.
but think about it. There's weird, what is it? The private part on the worm, Stone Coil Serpent. You remember the little dude in the back, that misprint in the art, and then that got taken out. So I don't know. I mean, I'm not too worried. This is just one of many things, and there's gonna be more nonsense coming down the pipeline. I just don't care about this one specifically. So
I say this. So this set is interesting because it has 3 cards that I play heavily. So this actually is one that I could buy. I would think it's a lot better if you just kept everything the same, including the illegible text, but just made the background the color the card is supposed to be. So Price of Progress would be a light red background. Eternal Witness would be a light green. Because when I look at it, my brain hurts. Eternal Witness looks great. I love the flavor text. It's witness me as I witness you, and the trippy eyes and everything. And I like Wall of Otters. The text is so illegible that you can't even read omens. That's fine. But I draw the line and all the cards look white. And I'm I don't know about this. Same with the what are they called? The dossier frames or whatever from
at least those have a little
Murders.
color in them, right?
Yeah, they have a little color.
A little, but
it's not enough for me. And same with Double Feature, where the whole set was just
whoa,
black. And you're just
be cool.
So I like my cards to represent the color, and I'm fine with it being utterly unreadable. But it has to be the right color, I think, just to get the thing across. Especially when the mana cost wasn't even in the right place. The mana cost is at the bottom and in the left or whatever. It's all over the place. So you can't even tell at a glance what color this card is supposed to be. And if you're a Pyroblast player, you're in shambles. You're what color is that card? Is it colorless? Is it colorless?
I mean, and it's somehow getting even like wonkier than that. Did you see I think their Pro Tour promos, like the Inspiring Overseer that was like a couple of weeks ago? Like that one just kind of has the wrong color. Like it looks like a red card, but it's actually a white card.
Cards, yeah.
Yeah. Like, so I don't know. I kind of wish Wizards would take that into account. I really like the art on these, this new Secret Lair drop. It looks really cool. Like the style of it is really sweet, even with the illegible text. But I do like that Magic cards, you can quickly recognize what's going on by the color. And I think the more we get of this, the harder it is to track what's going on the board state. So what do you think about the circular logic thing? So do you...
Yo, by the way, just like give me the illegible pill. I'm so in on it. I love the case files. I love the base. They're my favorite. I love my black on black consuming tide.
At least those have a touch of color too. Like your consuming tide, there's a little blue in there, right? Like at least it looks a little like a blue card. A little bit.
But I mean the case files, right? That's some things that people didn't like, but I think they're amazing. Look, it's like
I mean, they're all subtle, but this is just non-existent. It's not like you can like tilt the card and see that it's green. You know what I really want? I was watching our unboxing video, Seth. We have an unboxing channel, by the way. Seth cracked a Karlov Manor and invisible ink. So I want a card that is 100% visible ink. So when you put it down, it just looks like a sheet of foil. And you're like, what is this garbage? But then you hold it at like 1 degree and you find out it's a double face, like Saga double face planeswalker flip thing with 800 abilities. And then you got to like try to read the invisible ink. That's what I want.
You know that exists, right? You meme on it, but Yu-Gi-Oh literally has that. It's called ghost foil. And it's like, you already know how tiny Yu-Gi-Oh font is.
I wish I had realized it before cracking the box, because apparently they look really cool under the black light. Apparently you're supposed to black light them and it stands out, because I was like trying to get the light in the right like way to read it, and someone in the comments was like, dude, you're just supposed to put under a black light and it all stands out. I was like, oh,
encouraging you to bring a black light to your LGS? Is that
Pro Tour?
Is that
under
what
the
they're going
light
for here? Why would you do this?
I don't know. I don't know what they're thinking with that, but it is creative, I would say.
Who has a black light? What?
Yeah, that's what I said. I was like, yeah, I would have had to really plan ahead for that, because I don't actually have a black light. It's 2024. Why would I have that?
I don't think I'm black lighting anything in an LGS.
What do you make of the circular logic thing? Because I was wondering, like, so Murders at Karlov Manor drops tomorrow. Traditionally, the week before, they do early access event where, like, you get to play early and it's like a big community day and show off the set. But they canceled it because they fired the person who ran it. Do you think, like, we're seeing an impact to the layoffs that happened a few months ago? Do you think, like, early access being canceled, the circular logic sorcery thing, is this stuff that is, like, pointing at just, like, the lack of manpower at WotC now? Like, there's no one there to double check their secret lairs to make sure they're the right card types because they fired so many people. Like, are we seeing real world impacts of those layoffs, or is this just a fluke and there's no correlation there?
You know, it's funny is I think that they do it enough to where I don't know. Like, I will say that I do think that the impacts of like the layoffs will be felt, and we already have with the early access event and stuff like that. But when it comes to quality coming down and getting released, they, as we've said, right, they do this all the time. So it's such, I can't tell when it's like a mess up and like because of maybe the layoffs, or is that just naturally them? Like, did they do this all?
They're just messing up anyway. Yeah.
Yeah, like even if they had full like workforce, would this still happen? Maybe.
I wonder if you can make a full deck out of just like mass mistakes from Wizards. Like you're thinking of like, if you go all the way back to like, what was it, Serendipity or whatever, like the blue card and the green card in a blue frame, or was it vice versa? Like
there's
I think if you include foreign language cards, it's like a slam dunk. Like I remember, Crib, your Ashiok,
fisherman,
Korean Ashiok,
my +1 Ashiok,
your +1 Ashiok. So I don't think it's layoff related, but who knows? But you know, I think it's actually just like these cards are unreadable anyway, and people don't bother trying to read them. They're like, oh, it's a new secret lair. What is this? Okay, go to print.
I believe you.
Plus, it's circular logic. Like, I probably wouldn't have even caught this if I was just reading it, right? It's not a card that sees enough play, but also you don't check type lines usually, right? Like I
I
can
guess
see it
that's
passing
true.
through the casual eyes of most people, and you kind of need a dedicated QA person who's explicitly looking for these things. So I can see how it could pass through the social media person and the person that gave it to them, because like, who's reading the type line? Like, scheming symmetry could have
Yeah.
said instant. I probably wouldn't have noticed.
Yeah, I guess that's actually true, isn't it? Yeah. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if it's a real mistake. I know they deleted their tweet with it when they were showing it off, so I don't know if that means anything. I haven't seen them actually
Oh.
address whether it's a real mistake or not, but they did delete their tweet as of this morning that was showing off this this layer drop. So anyway, let's keep moving on. So CGB, who you probably know, does a lot of standard content on Magic Arena. One of the biggest the biggest best of one content creator, I think, on Arena, posted a video, I think yesterday, a couple days ago, that was titled "I'm Retiring," which the title, a little bit clickbaity. He's not actually retiring, but he might eventually, blah, 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 blah. But he had an interesting take on standard, where pretty much he was pretty critical of standard in general. And the "I'm Retiring" thing was him basically saying, I got to play standard every day because that's what people want on my channel. But standard, because there's no rotation, this 3-year thing, it's made it really hard for me to make content. I have a hard time making cool, interesting brews because I'm just playing against these same dominant decks from the past years. He called out, I think, Shieldred and Swift Spear as 2 cards, especially in Best of One, that he's just seeing again and again and again. And he's not enjoying playing the game the way he used to be. What do you make of this? So do you think is this a concern? Like CGB is like a pretty big name in standard content. For him to kind of come out and just like trash the format like that, does this mean anything? What do you think of his critique of standard and making content for it?
This is
I
so
mean,
clickbaity.
The
I
title
gotta
was
throw
pretty
it out.
clickbaity.
But it's been clickbaited by him, but also indirectly by him, because there is a special context you need to view this through, and that is he only plays best of one. So does best of one standard sucks? Probably. I don't know. Right? Like I think the complaint is he's played against mono red for literally 3 years. like the same mono red deck has been like dunking him like for 3 years, and like that's the way best of one rolls, right? But we have best of 3. Best of one's a casual format, and Wizards doesn't balance it as well as they can, right? Like
Yeah.
it's supposed to be like you fire it up on your toilet, you play, and you go on your merry day, and that's it. Like best of 3 is what the majority of, I would say, enfranchised people play, right? And CGB is an enfranchised person trying to make content for casual people. So like he's like, oh my god, best of one is like sucking the soul out of my life. I'm like, I don't know, like that's kind of expected, right? If best of 3 was that bad, then standard has a problem, right? Because best of 3, you have sideboard options. Mono red is not a dominant deck. There's a lot more counterplay. Like you feel like you have agency in your matches. So I think part of the problem is it's best of one. And he's very transparent about that, right? It's best of one, right?
Yeah.
But when people take it, they're like, oh, CGB's retiring because standard sucks. It's like, well, actually, because standard best of one sucks. But then you'd be like, well, we all kind of do that, kind of, sort of.
I'm gonna stop that there.
Are you a best of one enjoyer, Crip?
Yeah, dude, it's the best way to enjoy the format when it comes to making content, right? Because best of 3, that's what
Casually.
you're probably. But I mean, like I won't lie to you. It's the best. Like just best of one in general is the best way to make content because you get a wide array of matches. You get faster games. You're not locked into this 45-minute best of 3 game for one round, right? So I personally think that's why I love doing single scoop. It's so much fun. And I mean, I can understand where he's coming from because at a point, let's not lie here. I, like any content creator, experience burnout at points. But then the one thing that was nice is once I figured out how to get in my lane, in my groove, and a huge part of that was best of one, and best of one standard has been phenomenal. The only difference is, like CGB does touch up on, is mostly just how you're kind of in this weird catch-22 where you want to make new decks, you want to play new things, but the decks that you find fun, CGB wants, he even said it in his video, he wants to make one video or a video for a deck that he finds fun, but he can't keep playing that because that's not good for content, right? So that's why not every one of my videos are just all Esper control, because they would be, but the thing here is
I know it would be, Crib, if we let you.
That's why I chose
I was allowed to. Hey, I'll change it up with Grix. How about this? Just blue-black, you know? Like, I mean, but when it comes to being a content creator, you do need to play a wide array of decks. So I can also understand and empathize with the fact that, yeah, like, I mean, it sucks that maybe you have to get paired against the same deck, but that's where you get to do the meme stuff, right? Like, as you've seen me make some super narrow decks that only beat mono red and then just lose to everything else under the sun. So, like, I don't know. I guess I personally still enjoy the standard best of 1 or best of 3, so much so, as you already know, that I want to get into, like, just actually playing it competitively again. And then, so I can, but I empathize with him because I also see where, like, you know, the gears are turning in his head and where he's going, what he's talking about, because all content creators, we all deal with it at some point, right? And it's how you shake the burnout. And as someone, as you know, CGB does it every day for 6 years.
Yeah,
I think, like,
that's a lot of best of 1 standard. If you're doing pretty much daily videos for 6 years straight, that's a lot. I think you're right. Like, so I don't like the rotation changes and some of the stuff they've done in standard that he called out there. I'm still like, I don't know if I'm ever going to get to the point where I would prefer 3 years of cards in standard over 2 years of cards in standard. So I really agree with that aspect of it. On the other hand, I think CGB gets the worst of it, right? Because he pretty much exclusively plays best of 1 and he pretty much exclusively plays standard. So he's just like doing that every single day, trying to make a new deck work, and that would get really challenging. I'm lucky that I can play timeless or historic or modern or like all these different things, but if you're just locked into that one thing, it would get very challenging. I will say I fired up some best of 1 today because there's this, did you see the bat challenge? Someone came up with this idea where you're supposed to,
somebody brought it up in my chat.
Yeah, you're supposed to start with just like 4 deep cavern bats in your deck and lands, and then you can add whatever you steal with the deep cavern bats to your deck until you eventually win with it.
Yeah.
And I will say I played against mono red like so much. Probably like 40% of my matches were mono red.
Then you became mono red.
Yeah, I pretty much, yes. I was turning into a Rakdos deck. Is that how best of 1 is, Krim? You play more best of 1 standard than me. Like, is mono red like an issue? Is there anything like you would fix in best of 1 if you could? Like, let's say it wouldn't impact the broader format. Like, would you ban something from from mono red or anything? Like, is there any actual fixable issues in the best of 1 format?
To be honest with you, I think I might just be a masochist or a glutton for pain, because I know it's 1 in 5 matchups. CGB talks about it, and that math is actually correct. It is about 1 in 5 matches. But I think the difference here is I talked about my burnout, and I experienced that peak, the worst of it, when it was Eldraine, Throne of Eldraine. And I remember talking to you every day, hey, Seth, what can I do to make a video, have it matter, and not get elked? Or not get run over by Cynic, right? And that like sitting there as a content creator and trying to figure out how to get around that made me so miserable that I almost wanted to just spike my computer out the window. But I persevered. So pushing through it, it's just like, hey, I guess I'll run my face through the cheese grater today. Like, it doesn't matter as much to me today. So like, I think I don't feel it as bad, and I actually enjoy this where it's just mono red. Like, it's like, oh, thank God it's just mono red.
These are content creator problems. And it's interesting that it's sent out to the regular people, but like, we totally empathize with CGV, but like the random person will not really understand. And I feel CGV's at some point where he's locked in with his audience's expectations. And the way we deal with it is we basically ignore our audience, right? Like you know,
that's
like
so bad.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, here's the good example. We used to play Moto before Arena came out, right? And when Arena came out, everyone's like, "Oh, what are you doing? Go back to Moto. Like, Arena is too flashy for my eyes, or whatever." I've been watching you play Moto for like 8 million years, right? That's where the true competition is. And these Arena noobs, it's not, you know. But we're like, look, it's better for content if we do Arena. And I appreciate your feedback. We take that into consideration, but we think this is the way forward, right? And then we just did it, right? And then we kind of just do what we want, really, essentially all the time. Right? It's the infamous Tomer poll that embodies all of Magic, where you throw up a poll being like, what deck should I play? And then you just ignore the result entirely, right? You don't choose the number 1 deck, but you're like, I took that data into consideration and I'm choosing number 4. Thank you. And you kind of just need to do it, right? Like if you are beholden to exactly what your audience says, especially like literally, like whatever the top upvoted comment is, that may not pan out long term. And you gotta understand and empathize with where they're coming from, and then you gotta use all your experience to make the best decision possible for everyone, right? Like that's how it
Yeah.
supposed
I
to
mean,
work.
it's a bit of like just every functioning relationship. You want to compromise, right? So you want to go somewhere a little before the exact expectation and what you want to do. So this way you kind of stay sane and in the content creation process. Because I don't know, I think I'm closing in on 6 years now with y'all. So like, maybe I release my I'm retiring video, like you know what I mean, like. But
like his experience would be 50% different if he just played like Explorer half the time. Can you imagine just shaving off like 3 years of standard from your resume? And like, oh, good riddance. I didn't have to play like 3 years of mono red, right? Like, oh, good.
I mean,
right?
I had to sit down. CGB, wonderful human, great guy. Loved hanging out with him. When he came to LA, we went and watched John Wick and 4. And this is kind of like what we talked about. We were eating dinner, and I was telling him the same thing. Like, you know, if you want to stay sane, you got to throw something that's not standard in there, man. Like if you're gonna, yeah. I love standard, but I can't play Esper Control every day of the week, or else everyone will yell at me. So the point, the thing
that's
is,
a different reason.
I told we have different reasons, but you know, like I'm retiring because I can't play Control only. No, like I told him about this and we talked about it, and you know, I can tell it was really troubling him, and you know, he was deep in thought, and I could see it behind his eyes, and you know, the gears were turning, as I said, and he was kind of just processing things. So you know, again, I hope that he works it out, and like I hope that things go well for him, because I mean, well, clearly it has gone well for him. He's flexed his numbers. I didn't even know you could make that much money in content, to be honest with you. The point is, yeah, like you know, it's worked for him. It's great that he's locked in to his viewer base, and it's clearly showed. But for him, the creator, as you could see, this is where it's catching up to him. So I do hope that, you know, like he's able to be successful in his new adventures as well, because I love CGB. He's great. He was right there at the Arena Boom. You know, he was there at the Mythic Invitational. He gave me an island pendant necklace as a good luck charm. And you know, I consider him like a solid friend and an all around great guy. So I hope it works out for him.
So speaking of standard, this is kind of a good segue, I think, because we started talking about it. There's a post on the Arena Reddit that was basically saying they think that extended rotation has them less hyped about standard because they feel like Murders of Karlov Manor isn't going to really make an impact on the format. That they want to like see the new cards, but they feel like it's not actually going to make an indent because it's going to be the powerful cards that have been there. And then there was also a couple of posts from some big vendors and people who sell cards talking about Murders at Karlov Manor. I think the biggest one I saw was from Basham Callister, was talking about how their pre-release numbers were pretty low. No one's buying these play booster boxes. Like they're having a hard time selling this set. Do you think there's any concern that this set is like kind of flopping? Is this set weaker than we thought it was? Are play boosters in the price increase, is that scaring people away? Is that going to be a bigger issue than we realize, that the cheapest booster product's like $150 now instead of $100? What do you make of Murders at Karlov Manor? Because it's kind of getting it from both sides, right? You got the digital players who are like, oh, I don't know if these cards are good enough. You got the vendors saying, oh, I'm not really selling these cards. What do you think of MKM as we head to release tomorrow officially online?
I think that there's something to be said here, and it's like, first off, I think we're also coming out of a really bad economic situation. Right?
True.
Like people aren't exactly the most eager to spend more money on a price uptick, right? Like on cards, right? So like there's that. But then there's also the fact that, yeah, there's also just right now, I think there's a bit of also the fact that no one really knows anything about the set, because normally this is where an early access event or something like that, I think that they would build buzz, right? You kind of get a little bit more of what's going on, what's playable in the set. Okay, is it powerful? Is it not? So right now, I think that to ask if the set is a dud when it comes to power level wise, I think it's way too early, right? It's way too early. We've got a lot of playtesting still due. But when it comes to the economics of it, like I do think the uptick in play boosters is going to be expensive. I like play boosters. I like the way that they're streamlined. I don't have to like buy multiple different packs now. I can just draft the ones with the fancy art that can, or I mean, I can still open up fancy art. But the price uptick is a thing that will be a big hindrance on it. So I think right now it's too early to say anything about the format of the set. Maybe it sells a little bit better after we're a little bit more removed from, because we've had an insane amount of layoffs, right? And I mean like real bad. Like there's the huge economic boom, all of that, and I think that that's going to be, you're seeing the collapse of that, and I think that's a huge part of why right now.
The timing's kind of rough, right? Like you got IRL like issues with the economy and layoffs and stuff. It's a tough time to sell people on pay $50 more for a booster box. Like if people are already having to tighten their belts or whatever, or for real world purposes, it's a tough time to have to spend a lot more for your hobby. Do you think that's an issue, Richard? Like, because I guess when they announced play boosters, I kind of thought, whatever, like people get used to it. Set boosters are popular anyway. People are just switch over and buy them. Is there a downside we're seeing of not having that like low end product where you can feel like, oh, I'm getting my booster box for $100 instead of 150?
Nah, I think Magic players are addicted. So so what is the definition of addicted? It's like when you're doing stuff you shouldn't. So Magic players will be like, I'm gonna skip lunch to buy some cards, right? Like stuff like that. So I actually don't. I mean, yes, the economy is gonna have some factor here, but I don't think it's as big as other things because we are so addicted. And like you better believe if they allowed you to somehow buy reserve list dual lands at half the price, people would be scraping together like every penny they could and
taking
running
out a loan,
and buying them. Right? Yeah, like doing like the payday loans or whatever, like the very predatory stuff. I actually think it's because the set sucks. And
really,
by that I mean, so let's get all content creator on you guys, okay? This is a content creator podcast. It does not have an easy selling hook. So when you say something like Lord of the Rings, you're just like Lord of the Rings. That's all you need to know. You drop that one phrase, people come by. You're like, excellent, dinosaurs. Okay? You're like anime cards, right? What is that like 1 second hook for murders? You're like, clue, mystery, murder set on Ravnica, like right? Like guilds, like Ravnica, we've done it like 1,000 times. There's no easy hook. I bet you if this set had anime cards, it would do a lot better. I bet you if this set was
Richard, that's just a vanilla, that's an evergreen statement though. It's like, come on now, that's unfair.
If it was like Outlaws or something where you're like Western or something, like people like would get actually excited and it's easy to explain.
Wait, hold on. You think Outlaws is more exciting than this?
Yes.
Oh yeah. I think
the novelty,
the 8th time to a Plains that we've seen a million times, or like brand new setting that you've never heard of, like that. Look, it's so easy to understand, like Western, and you're like, okay.
Westerns are so boring, though.
But
I like cowboys.
Clue,
the idea of a cowboy oak, but Clue is dope.
Clue is like my grandma. That's like 19.
What?
Okay, so I might be on a little tinfoil hat here, but I'm like 85% convinced that Hasbro went to WotC and made them make this set. And we're like, hey, it's Clue's 75th anniversary. We really want to make this big. You're making a set that's a murder mystery. Figure out how to make it work. Mark Rosewater, go. Like, I actually am like kind of thinking that's a possibility at this point, because I feel like this is going to be the weakest standard set of the year. Like all the other hooks, like modern horror, Old West, even the like animal one are like more appealing to me than this one. Like to me, this set seems there's cards I'm excited to play with, but the theme really didn't hit it. I don't know. Is Ravnica wearing off? Ravnica's such an iconic plane. Have we just went to it too much? Like I see this since we're doing the content creator thing. Like decks are like that, right? Like Panharmonicon's cool, but if I play a Panharmonicon deck every week, it gets less cool because you already know what Panharmonicon does. You've seen it a million times before.
Not true. I play Esper all the time.
Are we even at that point with Ravnica? Is Ravnica no longer just a guaranteed slam dunk plane? Like, we need a banger, we're going to Ravnica because everyone loves Ravnica. I feel like maybe we've gotten to that point because we've just seen it so many times now.
I think that there is something to say about more so the theme. Like Richard had mentioned here. Yeah, maybe the Clue part isn't as exciting to others. I personally love it, but I'm not the universe and I'm not the world, obviously. So, but the one thing I will say about is Ravnica too much? To be honest with you, I don't care because I care about the cards. Right? The plane itself, the only thing I like is that I get to see more Dimir stuff, so that makes me happy. That always sparks this like level of joy, right? But to be honest with you, what world and plane it's on actually doesn't matter. You could tell me we're returning to Homelands or whatever, and yeah, maybe Homelands originally sucked, but if the initial theme, the gimmick of the set is cool enough, then I'm in. So it doesn't matter where it is. The gimmick matters more than anything else. So Richard does have a point, though, and maybe the idea that the clue and the whole murder mystery thing just is really cool for all boomers. Let's just say it, boomers and people who actually enjoy playing Clue. Me. So I don't know. Maybe that's why, and maybe the gimmick isn't as popular because it doesn't sit as well, right? Like it doesn't sell a set.
Okay,
Like,
I
how
got
do you go from gods?
We're
How
gonna
do you
talk
go from
about
gods,
gimmicks.
Rakdos, all of that, and then it's like, okay, well now imagine if they were just a detective. So maybe that doesn't work because the power scaling of the world that it's in. So I can totally understand why it wouldn't work as well. But for me, it's just funny, and I like the gimmick of detective stuff. I mean, I told you I want a courtroom drama set.
The mechanical gimmick is so bad too. And tinfoil hat, the CEO of Hasbro probably invented Morph, because you have Morph and Manifest, and then they made like one of the worst mechanics of all time called Megamorph. Okay, and then they're like, oh, you know what we should do? We should give him more too, you know? And then you have freaking Cloak and Disguise, like the stupidest, like. This is like when you
Morph
copy and paste your
is
friend's
an
homework,
industry
and then you
plant.
copied their name. And you're like, wait a minute.
Y'all
I-
heard it right here. Morph is an industry plant. Oh man, dude.
I will say I know what you're saying though, because I ran into this. We're doing this week for Commander Clash. We're playing the Murders at Karlov Manor precon decks. I had the face down deck, and I was trying to like just look through the deck. And
That's the
it's
CEO's
actually-
favorite deck, by the way.
Yeah, the CEO's favorite deck, obviously. But it's kind of convoluted, right? That I have like Manifest and Cloak and Disguise and Morph and Megamorph. I have like 5 different mechanics that are essentially the same thing, but they're all like slightly differently and all have different names and like slightly different twists. So it is kind of like a little bit convoluted, I would say, on that end as well. So yeah, I don't know this set. I don't know if it's going to do it for me. I guess the good news in 2023 is like, 2 weeks from now, we'd be talking about Fallout, Commander, Universes Beyond, and then we'll have Cowboys coming. So
I have a question for you, Seth. So you mentioned Universes
Yes.
Beyond, and you mentioned what are the planes that people hold near and dear, right? Like Ravnica, Zendikar, Dominaria,
Innistrad, Dominaria,
Innistrad.
yeah.
Do those have any weight at all to you? Because I would rather go to a random new planes than return to any of these, bar like Kamigawa. Like the planes that were so bad the first time around and we haven't been back. Like I would go to Return to Homelands. But other than that, I don't want to see another Dominaria set. Like give me a random it could be any concept. It could be literally like office comedic drama or something, right? Like nothing to do. It's like that's gotta be better than returning to Dominaria for like the 5th time. So I actually do not like any returns, regardless of the hook.
I kind of like the first return. I think I don't mind going back to a plane once. I think we've had some really good ones. Like I think Return to Ravnica was a really good like return of block. I wonder how much of it blocks plays into it as well, like the change from blocks to no blocks. But I don't mind going back once. But I do think for me, like at this point, some of those iconic planes, the 3rd and 4th time, it's too much. Like this 4th time to Ravnica, and it's like a murder mystery set. Like this didn't have to be Ravnica, right? I guess they wanted iconic characters for the murder mystery, but I'm not even sure if that like works. Is like Argus Cross and like Atrada, are those like iconic characters? They're like kind of known, but I don't know if they're like S tier, the most iconic characters in Magic. So I kind of wish they just went someplace else with it as well. Honestly, flavor wise, it feels more like Streets of New Capenna to me. Like I guess the issue there is there were no cops and they needed cops in this set, or no like law enforcement aspect. So that kind of crossed that one off the table. But yeah, I like the first return. Beyond that though, I'd rather go someplace new. What about you, Graham? Do you like the 3rd and 4th return to places, or would you rather go someplace new? Or you don't care? It's just the cards. If the cards are good, the cards are good.
Yeah, like I mean, I care more about familiar faces and probably the gimmick of the set more than anything, right? So yeah, the idea of cowboys, Cowboy Oko or something like that, Cowboy Vraska, that's funny. Like that's funny. That has me interested, but I see that gimmick wearing off pretty quick. So it really matters what the cards are doing. But Duskmourn, now that set, I'm sold. It's already the best set of the year.
What's Duskmourn?
That's a horror one, right?
Yeah, that's
Wait,
the horror.
Is that not Innistrad? What's the difference between that and Innistrad?
But see the difference here is it's taking place in a house and a mansion, and it makes me think of.
Oh, is this Resident Evil?
It's supposed to be modern
it makes me
horror.
think of, like,
it's
yeah,
supposed to be modern
horror.
like horror movies.
What the heck does that mean? I don't watch horror movies. Modern horror.
It's horror movies with like grief, solitude. So featuring all your favorite elementals.
What?
That's so like yes.
I'm so confused.
Oh wait, I might be misinterpreting what they meant by modern horror.
Yeah.
Or for Richard, I guess
I'm a little slow.
Mosswood Dread Knight.
That's not a horror. That's a horror for if you're facing off against me, man.
I just gonna say that modern horror, so you're gonna see a lot of like maybe think like Conjuring, and that's what I'm imagining right now. The Conjuring and things like that, movies like that.
Yeah.
And that has me really hyped, right? I love anytime there's a horror setting and you're telling me it's in narrow hallways and spooky mansions. Sign me up, unless you mean actually go to one. I don't want to go to one.
Oh, yeah. So it'll be interesting. I'm curious if you're listening to this. Are you buying a Murders at Karlov Manor box? How are you interacting with the set? Because I'm very curious what the rest of the community is doing. But let's hit up another topic or two before we get to Fishmail. I did want to mention, I noticed this because I was opening some booster boxes this week. Sam, Ristic Studies, did a video about the histories of foils in Magic. That it's really good. It's like super in depth. It's like over an hour, tons of research. But I was watching it. It made me realize, are foils special anymore? Do we need foils in 2024? Like, should we just get rid of them altogether? I guess part of what I learned from the video is like foiling kind of became a thing in the 90s and was like a hot thing where they were putting it on like toothpaste. And it actually started with Pokemon. They were the first ones to start doing foils. In WotC, like, kind of ripped it off from them when they started making Pokemon cards. But like it became this big thing, trend at the time. But has outlived its usefulness. Like now I feel like foils, if you open a collector booster, pretty much everything's foils. So they're not really special anymore. And then you have like the curling issues and all that kind of stuff. Have foils just outlived their usefulness? Should we just retire them?
Let's not lie here. The idea of retiring them, I may not like the foils, but like the idea of retiring them seems not likely to happen. I think all they need to do is change the foiling. It's not that foils are bad. Like the problem is the inconsistencies, right? You have Commander Legends, and God, I love that opposition agent in foil, but also, God, it's terrible. It's a Pringle. But then you have the wonderful etched foils. So like the Junji Ito Secret Lair and the Yoji Shinkawa foils, like those were awesome. Just make it consistent. Do a lot of what you did with the Junji Ito foiling for the Secret Lair. Not whatever you've been currently doing. I don't understand. They must have a bunch of different foiling contracts out there between different companies for different drops and different releases because, some of them are real clean. And then there's real bad ones. God, there's a lot of bad ones. Oh, God.
So experiment more with the types of foiling, but keep foiling. Would that be, that would be your vote, Krim?
Yeah.
Foils suck because because of the rep, right? Like you're not tournament legal. You're like, what? And I'm just gonna say, like, foil is supposed to be more premium, but Magic cards like suck. like have you touched another card game, like say One Piece? Like
yes, Richard.
Common from One Piece feels higher quality than whatever foil you're pulling. And also in One Piece, like your good cards, like the higher rarity cards, are all foil by default. But if you just take a random common, the weight of the card is like so much weightier. It's not flimsy. You feel like you can't break it. And there's like a nice sheen like finish on it that makes you think it's foil, even though it's not. Like So like Magic cards just kind of suck, and we're kind of stuck with this like. If you print a card today, you need to be able to shuffle it up with the cards from 1995 and play in tournament. And that restricts what Wizards can do. Because I'm sure Wizards would like to print high quality cards, but they can't, right? Because in 1995, they chose, well, actually, no, this may not even be true. So if you hold like a third edition, a revised card, it is significantly thicker than a normal Magic the Gathering card. So maybe they can do this and they're just being stingy. Because I would like all the cards to return to that level of thickness.
They though?
Why not?
Isn't that like, so if they go to, are you talking about like return to like the thickness, like how the Junji Ito cards are? Or are we talking about going even thicker?
Like, revised cards? They're like really meaty compared to whatever they're printing today. Can you do that?
It's just,
am I allowed to play with
no,
revised
they're
basics
not.
in a tournament?
Revised cards?
They just feel sturdier.
As well.
They feel a lot sturdier.
They feel sturdier to me. I know what Richard's saying. I guess I've never actually researched if that's true or not, but I think like to me it feels like newer cards are just like flimsier than older cards a little bit. Like the stock they're printed on is not as sturdy or whatever, but maybe that's not true.
Like I'll set some One Piece cards, man. You touch it, you're like, what the heck's going on with WotC? Like, why do we have such crappy cardboard stock? And if
I won't lie to you,
this tournament
Richard's
legal,
right there.
We should be able to make thicker cards, right? Otherwise, I've been getting away with it in tournaments by playing my revised basics, which are like double the weight of any other card.
I mean, we've seen this though, right? We've seen that there is inconsistency in card stock, and some of them, like, you can just cut to easier, right? Because they are thicker or they're flimsier or they're more curled. So the problem here is if they go too thick and try to match like the quality that One Piece is now all the cards of old and the new cards, you can definitely tell which one is which in a deck. But yeah, like right now,
I casual Commander players. It doesn't matter, right?
I guess yeah. If the world is Commander, then it doesn't matter. But for competitive integrity, I think that you can't do that. Trust me, I love One Piece, the game, not their tournaments. And like I love them, and I think because of that, I have a higher bar for what I expect card quality to be, because you're right, One Piece cards are very nice. Even their commons are nice. But I don't think Magic can ever get to that level. I do think that the best that we can get is the foiling that we got on some of the Secret Lairs, the etched foiling and all of that. Like, just something about that was a lot better. Like, my Junji Ito foil cards are still straightened to this day. The ones that I had to go back and buy because my original was stolen off my front porch, but it's fine.
Ooh. I think just get rid of pack foils, maybe. Like, the pack foils don't feel special to me anymore. If you want to use foiling with like some special treatment and you do the etch foil or whatever, like if you want to do stuff like that and there's some special treatment, maybe that's fine. Although you still have the like curling issue and sometimes cards like not being legal to play because they're too curled and all that kind of stuff. But I would like to see the just like pack foils. They don't mean anything anymore. Like, it's kind of sad to me that a few years ago, that was the most chased treatment, right? The literal best card you could open was your foil 7th edition Birds of Paradise. Like, that was the blingest, most expensive version. And now foils to me are just bulk. They're not like, they're just like normal cards. Like, I just throw them aside because they come in every collector booster pack. So they've just lost all meaning and excitement. So I don't know what the point is, especially when you have the downside of probably costing more to print and making illegal decks because of the pringling. So I think they've just served their usefulness.
I gotta so they gotta redesign the frame to make the foils pop. So like a new foil card means nothing to me, but an old border foil is magnificent. Like, if you look at the old border cards, the foil is significantly better than the non-foil version. And if I didn't have a fear of pringling or anything like that, my deck would be all about that, because the border color, like the way like the blue cards are, like when they're in foil, they look like a lot better. You have like the swish thingamajig going on. Like, the cards were just designed around foiling. Nowadays, it's like you can grab a foil and not even tell it's foil, right? You're like, I don't know what this is.
Yeah.
So I think they actually should go back to basics, redesign the frame to make foils desirable. Get rid of the stigma. Like, there's a thing that it may look great, but I don't know if it will pringle or not. And I don't know if it's going to be tournament legal. I don't want to deal with it. So I always just get the base version. They need to
unfortunately,
fix that, period.
That's true. I having just literally like ordered, what is it, this morning, the winter drop or whatever, some of the cards from it. I want the foil, but I don't want to chance it. So I just got the non-foil.
And hot take, they should stop making the weird foils and just focus on the good foil. Because like, they made what, Surge foil, Galaxy foil, Step and Complete foils. Like, I don't know, there's like a million foils now. Like, what if you just channel all that R&D into making like the regular foil good? Right? Like, instead of like just making a new foil every set for no reason, like just make the foil we have the best foil. Like you see it and you're like, I need to buy it. That's how I feel about One Piece cards. I don't feel that way about Magic foiling whatsoever, right? It's not like, oh, that looks amazing. I'm like, it's okay. Like, is it gonna Pringle? Like, you gotta read Reddit to make sure it Pringles or not, and then I can decide whether to buy it. Like, I should just go to the store and just get sucked in, right? Be like, oh my god, that looks so good. Here's my money. Take it, go home, be happy.
Yeah, I mean,
like
so
some
what
of
do
the
you
special.
think?
I like
Well,
the Galaxy foil. Like some of those actually look pretty cool. I will say, like those actually still some of them feel special to me. Even if I'm kind of anti-foil overall, like some of those, I got a Galaxy foil like Temple Garden from the Infinity set, and it actually like really pops and like sparkles.
That's the sparkly
so.
one, right?
what do
Yeah,
you
that's like the sparkly
think
one.
what do you both think about, like, funny enough, you've seen the Secret Lair promo cards, right? That with the artwork done by like Ricardo Cavallo. So do you see the red tint?
Yeah.
Like the red tint.
Mhm.
They need to. I want to see those. Those could be cool, like the red tint, because it was by artists, like design or like requested by the artist accordingly, that they wanted the red tint over the cards. So, what do you think of like? This is where Secret Lair can get cool, and let's say when they do more Secret Lairs, like maybe more Magali stuff, they let the artist request what kind of foiling goes over it. I think the foiling idea is there. I'm just so worried about the red, like whether they'll curl or not.
Yeah. Yeah, that's kind of the kicker there, right? If your card's not going to be legal, it doesn't matter how cool it looks. I mean, I
Yeah.
think that experimenting with it's interesting, and I would, if you haven't watched it, watch the Sam video, because it actually, one of the things it does that I didn't know is goes into like the actual like, here's how they print foils. It's like 7 different layers of ink, and they have to do it in different orders. Here's what the art director and the artist like tell them, and this is how they accent different parts on the card, so you can see like how the foils are. It was actually like super, along with being entertaining, it was also very educational on just like how foils are made. So I think doing more of that is like a cool idea, right? Maybe there's more ways you can customize the foils with the artist input or whatever, but still, pack foils, get rid of them. I'm just done.
Oh, yeah.
Done with pack foils.
It
Not
sounds
cool
weird
anymore.
to say that nowadays, but I actually would rather not have a foil in every pack.
Yeah.
Like I get it. They're trying to capture the hype of like Pokemon pack, like opening, like content, right? Like, oh, the hype is insane because there's always a foil and all of that, yada, yada, yada. But I don't know. Pokemon nailed it, and somehow Magic still needs to figure it out. And one minor detail that I forgot to mention about, like, the new Secret Lair promo arts and stuff, with the red foiling. I found out recently, for the listeners, that artist and the art and why it looks so familiar is because I went to go see the band that has that artist work on one of their album arts. Neck Deep's album, Life Is Not Out to Get You, is done by Ricardo Cavallo. And I thought that's why it looks so familiar. But yeah, I kind of want this red tint. I think it looks cool. Maybe. I don't know. We'll see once they actually reveal the paper card.
All right, we're getting near the end of the cast, and we got to do a fish mail, but I got to ask you one more quick question. So one little lightning round at the end of the cast. So there's a post on the MTG Arena Reddit that got some traction this week that was basically asking, what's the best or what's your favorite Magic content creator? And I thought it'd be cool to ask you guys that. Is there anyone that makes Magic content? Maybe someone that, I mean, obviously you can say LSV or something that everyone knows, and that's fine, but maybe someone that people wouldn't know that you'd be like, hey, you should like check them out because they make some good stuff. So any recommendations for Magic content creators that you like or you think the audience should maybe check out?
Oh, definitely. Easily MTGGoldfish.com. I'm just kidding. So
Is it up and comer, Crimothy?
up and coming, yeah, Crim, and Saffron Olive, up and coming content creators. I genuinely love, just like, I think I know a few, but I think Jim Davis, he's always great. He does a lot of content all around, but he does some fun, like, bronze to mythic events, and just Jim's very insightful. Jim is like exactly the player that balances between fun and informative. I really like watching Jim Davis.
Jim's great. Yeah. I mean, so what about you, Richard?
CGB also.
Yeah, that's another good one. Any recommends, Richard?
All right. I'll recommend Geek and Seek. So Geek and Seek, they have Commander content. And Morgan, who's on the show, who runs Geek and Seek, also edits this podcast and also Commander Clash.
Wait, isn't that indirectly then shouting? Okay, all right, whatever.
So Morgan doesn't make MTGGoldfish content as a personality. He edits it. But you should check out his actual channel where he does gameplay, like live in-person gameplay. So shout out to that. Make me look good in the podcast, Morgan. Thank you. So check out. Like I actually like. There's a reason why he's working on her stuff, right? Because I watched his channel when I didn't know who he was, right? And I was really impressed by it. So I would check out Geek and Seek. Geek with the this terrible branding, Morgan. Geek with the single quotes around the end, and then Seek. Geek and Seek.
All right. So, I mean, I like a lot of Magic content creators. Obviously, Jim Davis, CGB, LSV. There's so many people who've been doing it forever, but I'm always trying to look for brand new content creators that I don't know, that are new to YouTube, new to making content. And one that I've noticed recently that I've liked their content is called Salubrious Snail. They've only been around for like 6 months on YouTube. I think they got like around 10K subs, but they make these cool, like, semi-animated like videos mostly about building your commander decks and like some tips on that, but the style's unique. Their thumbnails are like very unique, and I like their content. I've never met them personally. I have no idea like who they are, but Salubrious Snail, you can check it out over on YouTube. They make some cool videos, so I wanted to give them a quick shout out. But before we wrap things up, Richard, why don't you fishmail us? I think we can sneak in a fishmail this week.
All right. Wait, if you have questions, send them to @MTGGoldfish with the hashtag MTGFishmail. Get your questions on air. At Wanderer_the. How would you feel about a mechanic that speeds up the game after a player has been knocked out of an EDH pod so they don't have to wait around too long? For example, draw step is doubled.
God, okay. Okay, so is this meant to speed up the game like in duration, like in gameplay? Because there's a Hearthstone card called Nozdormu or something like that. And
is that the like 10-second turn one?
Yeah, everybody gets 10 to 15 second turn. I want that. I want that in Commander. I want that on Arena. I want that just to be an emblem on Arena that everybody has. Like, God, there are some long turns, and I really love that. Like, look, I play decks that are slow, but I take my turns fast. And maybe that's because my tournament days has taught me to value the clock. And I think that's something that is getting lost in like amongst like, players nowadays. So I know it's casual, but you can do things casually fast. Maybe it's my ADHD. I don't know. But the point here is like, I want it to be faster. So that's what I think. I think that the mechanic should be an emblem where everybody has 15-second turns. Go.
Whew, that would be some speed commander. I like the idea of having there be a way that minimizes how long you're sitting there after you're out of the game. But I don't know about like everyone draws 2 cards or something. It seems a little ham-fisted to me. I would like to see more mechanics maybe that help the game close out. Like we have goad in a lot of these mechanics that are designed for 4-player, but then once you get down to 3 players or 2 players, they get worse and worse until they stop working altogether. It would be kind of cool to have some 4-player mechanics that work the other way, that as players drop out, your cards actually get more powerful so you can close out the game, rather than as players drop out, they get worse and worse so you can't close out the game. So I wouldn't mind some subtle stuff like that with card design, but I don't know if I want to roll where like, hey, everyone draws 3 cards when someone gets taken out or something. That would just be weird to me.
If someone died, the game is going forward. So I would actually want it to be turn-based, but like that's kind of hard to track because you're like, what turn is it? But like all modern games have this, right? Like Fortnite, the thingy.
Yeah, it shrinks, yes.
The arena shrinks to force you to finish the game. I would like to see maybe damage is doubled, mana's doubled, draw extra cards, or maybe like if you didn't attack or something, or if you didn't play 2 spells, something happens to you. I don't know, but like
Interesting.
some random effect that causes the game to have agency. And you know, it'd be funny if someone Armageddoned and then like everyone just took like 4 damage a turn because no one was progressing the game. Like that would actually close out the game, right? Like, so I think you'd solve a lot of issues if you just forced the game to come to a conclusion, and you'd have to figure out how to do that in a meaningful way. But everyone would know about it before the game started, so you could build your deck around it. But like drawing cards is a step.
They need like a negative monarch. They need some sort of monarch-like mechanic that moves around the table, but is dealing like so much damage to you each turn. So once it starts going, it's just going to keep going. Something like that could actually be really cool.
Yeah,
I don't know what would trigger it or how it would pass around, but like that would be the type of thing that would keep the game progressing.
It needs to be true damage. Like you lose like a third of your life or something, so you can't turn it off. Like the fountain in League of Legends, you get in there, you dead no matter what happening, right? Like you get like 1 second in there, and then you dead. So like some mega infect or something where you just start accumulating it, and then you will die. Like you can't out life gain it or something like that. So I would like to see that. That's a very interesting idea.
Yeah. You could even have it deal commander damage. That would be flavorful in the format. We already have a mechanic to have true damage. Interesting.
Yeah. And it would solve things like Armageddoning out of nowhere and stalling the game, because the game
at least the
game will end. Oh, you know what it could be? You just start flipping cards off the top of your deck until you hit a permanent. Like every turn, you just like it's like an imaginary chaos warp or something, and sooner or later, someone's gonna die from this, right?
So everyone has like a prismatic bridge emblem or something.
Yeah.
Once you get to that point, it just keeps, everyone fills it until someone dies. Everyone dies.
Yeah. I like that idea. I like that idea. This is what the RC should be working on, I feel like. like crazy ways to make the game better, right? Rather than like very small incremental improvements. Like every modern game has this. They need to make sure the game doesn't drag on, and they regulate how long the play experience is so that it's predictable and it's the optimal one, whatever that number is for engagement, right?
Oh yeah, could you imagine Fortnite if you could just like hide in the like shadows on the fringes of the board forever? Like it would be a horrible game. Yeah.
Everyone loves those 8-hour Fortnite matches, Seth.
Anyway, how do people send in Fishmail for next week?
All right, send in how you would fix the EDH game speeding up mechanic at MTGGoldfish with the hashtag MTGFishmail, and we'll get to your comments on air.
And I believe that brings us to the end of episode 470 of the MTG Goldfish podcast. So Richard Cribb, thanks for hanging out. Thanks everyone for listening. Thanks to Card Conduit for supporting the show. And we'll be back next week to talk about our first impressions of Murderers at Karlov Manor and whatever else goes on in the world of Magic. So until then, have an amazing week, everyone. And this is the crew signing out.